with these people rescuing turtles? Why bother?
People ask us all the time, why do you do this? And sea turtles are endangered. The Kemp's Ridleys are critically endangered.
The Kemps!
And if they disappear, they're gone forever. We didn't even know the turtles were here in this area.
Cape Cod has some of the rarest of the rare in the world.
These are all juvenile turtles. Most of them are 2 or 3 years old. We start every season, it's a mystery to us what's going to happen. It's looking like maybe one of the biggest days ever. We're knee-deep in turtles.
We've really transitioned this year to treating more life-threatening problems, trying to get each turtle to survive till the next day.
With so many Kemps, I thought the future of Kemp Ridleys could be right here in front of our eyes.
We are a life-saving service, so whether it be humans or animals, we're here to help out.
We're so close to making this a long-term success, we can't stop. It would be like fumbling the ball on the 1-yard line in the last minute of the 4th quarter.
Sea turtles, globally, are in trouble. Human activities are largely to blame.
We've had a tremendous impact on turtles. We have driven the sea turtles and all turtles in different parts of the world to the edge of extinction. Turtles are such an ancient creature. You know, they go back so many hundreds of millions of years, and they've lived on the planet far longer than we have. And yet, as a group of organisms, they're among the most imperiled, simply because they don't seem to deal well with the 21st century.
Conservation efforts around the world are doing what they can to save all sea turtle species.
To help keep a species from going extinct, it's a long-term undertaking that must involve a lot of people from various agencies and various countries throughout the range of the species working together to protect various life stages of that animal.
This is a Kemp's Ridley sea turtle. This turtle species is the smallest, rarest, and most in danger of extinction. And it faces many challenges in the wild. In the fall, as the sun recedes, the cold of November and December chills the waters of Cape Cod Bay. Back in the summer, these young subtropical sea turtles were swept north on warming currents. Now, they wash up in droves on bayside beaches. The cold ocean has shut them down and made them weak. The term for their condition is cold-stunned, and nothing short of rescue can save them from certain death. In fact, some of the turtles that wash up are already dead. But if one of these volunteers is in time, and the turtle is still alive, it has a 75% chance of surviving. Other species of turtles get caught by the cold too, but 90% of the sea turtles rescued on Cape Cod Bay beaches are these critically endangered Kemp's Ridleys. There's no doubt they need rescue at this point in time. The question is, how did they get here in the first place? How did a sea turtle, born on a warm, remote Mexican beach far to the south, wash up half dead on a cold, windswept beach far to the north? The answer begins in the Gulf of Mexico. 10 to 15 years from now, this baby hatchling may return to the beach where it was born to nest and lay eggs. On its journey to adulthood, it will face many difficulties. Only 1 in 1,000 of these hatchlings will make it. Their journey begins by swimming up to 30 hours to reach the Gulf of Mexico current. Once they reach the current, a majority of the Kemp's Ridleys will remain in the Gulf of Mexico to live out their lives. But not all of them. Others will get caught in the Gulf Loop current. It will sweep them through the Straits of Florida and out into the Atlantic Ocean. Then they will catch a ride on the Gulf Stream and travel north to New England.
These are all juvenile turtles. Most of them are 2 or 3 years old. What we see here in Cape Cod Bay and north is not an annual migration. It is a one-time life stage where they travel north.
But how do they end up in Cape Cod Bay every fall and near death? Scientists think it may go something like this. In the summer, they get spun out of the Gulf Stream and head west into warm, shallow pockets of water to feed. Then autumn blows in from the north, and the drop in water temperature catches them by surprise. When the turtles feel the change in temperature, they start south. But instead of heading back to the Gulf Stream, they are herded into the coast by the northeast winds of fall, and for some, right into Cape Cod Bay. Now, the long, curved arm of the Cape is in their way. They swim into the bay, and nature works against their escape. There are 2 natural hooks in the bay, one in Provincetown and the other in Wellfleet. These are the obstacles in the way of their escape. The other obstacle is the cold ocean to the north, and their instinct is to swim away from it. In the end, they are hopelessly trapped, and now the cold works a deadly change on them. Stunned by the cold, they are hypothermic and unable to even swim. They begin to wash up on bayside beaches. In fact, their only chance for survival now is to be blown onto Cape Cod beaches and be rescued by a human being.
Excellent! Hello there. We're here to take you off the beach. All right. We may look like aliens, but we're your friends.
Massachusetts Audubon's Wellfleet Bay Wildlife Sanctuary is ground zero for all sea turtle strandings on Cape Cod. Every year, staff and up to 150 volunteers make the effort to rescue stranded, cold-stunned sea turtles.
We start every season, it's a mystery to us what's going to happen.
This is Dennis Murley. He coordinates the volunteers.
1 down and 49 to go.
A 30-year sea turtle rescue veteran, Dennis knows what it takes to save these Kemp's Ridleys.
We tried to incorporate the public. Wouldn't possibly be able to do this without the volunteers. They've become stewards of those beaches.
Dennis and staff will send volunteers out on sea turtle patrols during every high tide, day and night, over a period of 6 to 8 weeks in November and December. And they are dedicated.
We cover the whole beach so we don't miss any turtles. Sometimes we have to go in the water to rescue the turtles, and whatever it takes.
A local radio talk show is on the air, and he goes, "What is it with these people rescuing turtles? Why bother? You know, why are they doing this?" And, you know, we're just going, why not? Don't you want to be in a community of caring people? And don't you want a compassionate population of people?
The quicker that you can get these turtles off the beach and out of the cold air, the higher chances you have that they'll respond to treatment at New England Aquarium and ultimately be releasable. That's our end game here, is we want these juveniles to grow, get stronger, breed, make more babies, and hopefully save these endangered species from extinction.
The conditions are ideal for finding turtles. It's critical that if we do see something come in, we just have to get it off the beach or bury it as soon as possible, cover it, because the temperature is so low. It's actually safer in the water. The water temperature is higher than the air temperature today.
We were out a couple weeks ago on a nor'easter, pouring rain, and we walking like this, just bent over. We didn't find anything, but that's what it is. You do it for the turtles.
We retired here from New York 5 years ago. We read an article in the local paper that sea turtles were getting washed up on the shore because they were cold stunned, and we didn't even know that turtles were here in this area. We went out to see if we could find any turtles, and the very first time we went out, we did find a turtle. Unfortunately, that one didn't survive, but we've been doing it ever since.
The only thing worse than this is a little bit of sleet.
It's raining, sleeting, hailing. 3 o'clock in the morning, we're out here because that's when the turtles will blow in.
Even though there's football going on during the weekends when we do go out and look for the turtles, my preference is I'd rather be out on the beach looking for the turtles any day of the week.
Barry Tompkins spots a Kemp's Ridley.
Oh, little baby! All right, let me dig a hole. All right, so we want to get him out of the wind. It's critical.
This seagrass will help stabilize the cold-stunned sea turtle and keep its core body temperature from getting any colder.
There's another one! This one's alive. He's swimming. This is the first time we've ever found 2 in like 5 minutes. There's another one!
Get him out of the wind.
On several beaches to the north, volunteer Nancy Rabke has already found 5 sea turtles.
It's even more incentive when it's this cold because you know that you have to get them off the beach right away or they're not going to make it. When there isn't a wind, the turtles can die because they're never pushed on shore. With the west wind for so many days consistent, this is probably our best chance of getting them out of the water before they die.
In the next 5 minutes, Nancy will find the most sea turtles she's ever found during her 5 years as a volunteer.
Okay, it's a Kemp Ridley. It's alive. It's got some reaction to it. Okay, here's another one, upside down.
Because of the sheer volume of cold-stunned sea turtles, even the camera crew has to help out with the rescue effort.
Let's see how much further we can go.
Last season, I did not find a single turtle on my walks.
You get that okay? There's another one.
Okay, so now we've got 6. I think we're gonna have to get off the beach and get these into a car. Physically, we can't carry more.
Sea turtle season on Cape Cod is in full swing.
This one's flying.
Bob Prescott runs the sanctuary and leads the sea turtle rescue efforts. He knows a lot because he's seen a lot.
For a comment on algae, it's heavy algae, meaning its shell is completely covered. Sometimes we have a halo. Sometimes we have even more than this, but this is pretty heavy algae. We're going to carefully lift the turtle up and look at the belly and see what the algae looks like. Ooh, look at this barnacle.
And you think about the number of people that Bob teaches annually through Mass Audubon, through their students, their interns, and having energy like his being spread to younger generations who might care about taking care of turtles is amazing. He's exactly the type of ambassador we need.
Look at that. Oh, man. Spike. Boy, this is a punk rocker for sure.
Unlike land turtles, sea turtles cannot hide their heads and legs inside their shell, which is otherwise known as a carapace, making them more vulnerable to predators and also becoming cold-stunned. Nearly 40 years ago, Bob Prescott was the first person to discover a sea turtle in Cape Cod, and he did something about it.
I found my first turtle in 1974. It was dead, and it was upside down, so it was white, and pure white on the underside. And I go, oh my God, this is a sea turtle. I didn't even know what species it was. The Ridley is not a common turtle, but we kept finding them every year. The Ridley had plummeted to such a low number that every individual counted, and so that's why we got involved, and then you just sort of look at the problem and what are the solutions? And he said, you know, we can set this up in a way with volunteers and get people out in the right place at the right time so that they can find them.
Since 1974, over 4,700 sea turtles have been found on Cape Cod beaches. Pulling the cold-stunned sea turtles out of frigid Cape Cod waters is just the start. The first step in their rescue. The sanctuary warms them up and examines them for wounds and other problems. Then they prepare them for transport to the New England Aquarium Animal Care Center in Quincy, Massachusetts, on the other side of Cape Cod Bay.
Hey, Adam. We have picked up 31 turtles last night and this morning. I think there are 3 greens and the rest are Ridleys. There's definitely a couple that came in this morning that were very, very limp because it was 27 degrees out. We'll have a driver within half an hour or so.
I do a lot of the day-to-day overseeing of the efforts, communicating with the aquarium to determine when they're able to accept the turtle and when they're not.
Dozens of sea turtles in trouble all at once strains the system, but it doesn't stop it.
Banana boxes are a nice sturdy box with a lid and a bottom that you can stack them easily. They have air holes that are big enough to let plenty of air into the animal, but not big enough that the turtle can climb out of the box. Then we don't have to worry about weight crushing them and the turtles getting injured in some way while they're in the boxes. Its individual numbered tag goes in that box with it, as well as the data sheet with all of that turtle's information, like location, who found it, where, when, and its measurements.
Every step of the way, it's the turtles getting a step closer to them being rehabbed, them being put back into the ocean.
They've been rescued, but they're still in trouble. They need to get to the Animal Care Center at the New England Aquarium within 24 hours, or all bets could be off.
Off to Quincy! I've been coming to save the sea turtles on Cape Cod for over 20 years. I actually live off Cape. I drive 95 miles each way to get down here, another 80 miles or so to get to the Marine Animal Rehabilitation Center in Quincy, and then back to Wellfleet. It's very, very, very gratifying for me.
The Kemp's Ridleys arrive in Quincy and immediately go into turtle rehabilitation.
That's a sea turtle stranding and salvage network form. That's a national number that goes into a national database. Then we'll assign it an aquarium number so we can track it within our systems. So the numbers get painted on the back. I think you've seen a lot of these turtles swimming around. They look like race cars.
The rehabilitation process for many of these sea turtles will take months, and in rare cases, years. The ultimate goal is to heal and release them back into the ocean.
They come in pretty variable conditions. Some of them have only been debilitated for days, while others may have been already debilitated for weeks. It's common when they wash up on beaches that they will have had injuries to their eyes or injuries to their shells. When these turtles are really cold, they become physiologically deranged. Their heart may only function once every 1 or 2 minutes, and their kidney function goes down, and that just leads to this cascade of problems that eventually will kill them if we don't correct it soon enough.
The swimming at the very beginning is critical, and that gives us a lot of information about the turtle. What are they capable of when they come in here? Sometimes we have to support it and stimulate it a little bit. Sometimes they never come around, and that's a critical case, so that turtle needs to be worked on immediately. So when they come in, they get that supervised swim roughly at the same temperature or no more than 5 degrees higher than their body temperature. And then they graduate 5 degrees a day in those smaller, more shallow pools until they graduate to the larger pools that you see here.
The turtles go through phases of their rehab. The initial few weeks is the most critical phase. Initially, we're just trying to rehydrate them, adjust all of the abnormalities in their body, get their heart functioning better, get them swimming, and get their body temperature up to normal.
Their stress hormone levels, and I'm referring to corticosterone, which is their main stress hormone, is through the roof. It's the highest level that anybody's ever measured in any sea turtle has been measured here in these turtles.
Some turtles look pretty good externally when we just examine them, but then you look at their blood results or their X-ray results and you find that they actually have significant problems.
This is their initial X-rays, so their first X-rays that they've received. Usually they get it within 3 to 7 days of arriving at the facility. And it's one of the first things we do diagnostically besides blood work to assess their condition. If they're back flippers, we tape their legs out. So that way we can get a good look at the femur, make sure there's no fractures. And depending on their status, they'll get x-rays every 2 to 4 weeks while they're in rehab. His flippers look okay, no fractures that I could see. But you can see signs of pneumonia with this like honeycomb pattern here. So this one looks a lot worse than the one before.
From the beaches of Cape Cod to the Animal Care Center in Quincy, Massachusetts, this pattern of effort, rescue, and rehabilitation of Kemp's Ridley sea turtles repeats itself every fall and winter. But it's just one piece of a bigger picture of rescue and conservation of the species.
We feel that a number of different conservation avenues are relevant to saving endangered species, and our part of the story is trying to help these juvenile turtles to get through this event and become adults that can breed someday.
In order to save a species, scientists would first have to learn more about it. The Kemp's Ridley was identified in the late 1800s by an avid naturalist from Florida.
Richard Kemp first described it, and that's why it has his name. No one knows where the name Ridley came from. It may be a derivation of Riddler or mystery. No one knew where it was nesting.
It was finally discovered on June 18, 1947 by Andres Herrera, a Mexican engineer. It took him over 2 years and 33 flyby surveys to find the elusive Kemp's Ridley sea turtles. He filmed one of the most important artifacts that has been used to help recover the species. He located the Kemp's Ridley's primary nesting beach in Rancho Nuevo, Mexico, and captured a biological phenomenon known as the arrobado, meaning the Great Arrival in Spanish. 40,000 female Kemp's Ridley sea turtles were estimated to be nesting at the same time on this day. By the time Herrera's film reached scientific circles in the 1960s, their nesting numbers had plummeted, with only a mere fraction of the 40,000 nestings at one time. The Kemp's Ridley was hunted for turtle meat, their eggs prized as an aphrodisiac, and turtles were drowned in fishing nets in the Gulf of Mexico. To prevent extinction of the Kemp's Ridley, it became an urgent goal for scientists to figure out how to increase their nesting numbers to what they were in 1947. Humans would need to intervene to get the Kemp's Ridleys back on track. In 1966, the Mexican government began to monitor Kemp's Ridley nesting beaches. And in 1978, Mexico and the United States formed a joint effort to protect nesting beaches in Mexico and reestablish nesting beaches in Texas. It's called the Kemp's Ridley Binational Restoration and Enhancement Program. In the United States, it was led by the National Park Service in partnership with 25 other organizations.
The Kemp's Ridley Binational Project is one of the longest binational projects, Mexico-U.S., in existence. We're over 37 years, multiple administrations in both countries, but the biologists are still there in the trenches. Gladys Porter Zoo, we assist our Mexican colleagues in setting up operations to protect the Kemp's Ridley turtle nesting females, eggs, and hatchlings at 6 different sites in Mexico. By 1978, the first year that we had a binational team on the beach working together to save Kemp's Ridley, the modelers were saying it couldn't be done. The few turtles we had left were very genetically diverse.
But nestings dropped to a low of only 702 nests in 1985.
About 10 to 12 years after the beginning of the binational program, we started to see the population level out as opposed to continuing to decline, and then this gradual upswing.
The success of the program was also realized in Texas. For the first time in decades, Kemp's Ridleys are once again nesting on U.S. beaches.
Kemp's Ridley is a native nester here. Potter Island National Seashore is the most important Kemp's Ridley nesting beach in the U.S. More than half the Kemp's Ridley nests found in the U.S. are located here at the National Seashore each year. The National Park Service, along with other federal and state agencies and officials from Mexico, began the project in 1978 to try to form a secondary nesting colony here as a safeguard for the species against extinction in case some sort of a political or environmental catastrophe was to occur at the main nesting area in Mexico. There could be a safe area in the U.S. where Kemp's Ridleys could nest and be protected.
There have been more than 222,000 nests protected by our binational crew and more than 12 million hatchlings put out into the Gulf of Mexico.
Protecting Kemp's Ridley nesting beaches was not enough. Sea turtles were being drowned by fishing vessels in record numbers in the Gulf of Mexico. Something had to be done to stop it.
When the Endangered Species Act was passed, we knew that we had a problem with sea turtles being caught in shrimp trawl nets. The government now had a mandate. They had to fix this problem. And what came out of that research was the turtle excluder device. And it was invented by the National Marine Fisheries Service, fishermen and government scientists here in the U.S. That device has now spread to fisheries around the globe.
I travel throughout the Gulf of Mexico checking these things. I go aboard the boats, visit with the fishermen, look over these particular specifications. We discuss their gear. If I see a problem, we'll try to work on it and solve it. The biggest challenge that I faced with TEDs were in the 1980s. There was quite a bit of industry resistance. There was a lot of fear of putting these large holes in their nets and losing shrimp.
TEDs have helped because now we have a device that will exclude 97% of turtles that enter the net. They are configured in a way that most of the turtles, small or large, when they get to that net, the turtles will go out. The shrimp, the things that the fishermen are trying to target and to catch, they're keeping the gross majority of those. In fact, statistically, there's no difference in what they catch and don't catch with a TED.
Industry came around.
For the last roughly 20 years, the shrimp fishing industry here in the Gulf of Mexico have been some of our most ardent and stalwart supporters. And this is one of our big success stories. We always didn't see eye to eye on every issue, but they've put their money into helping the Kemp's Ridley as opposed to litigation and fighting in the courts. They actually built the Tepehuajes turtle camp in Mexico, and that's one of our most important Kemp's Ridley turtle camps. No one wants to be the bad guy. If you give them the opportunity, they'll help you. So I think that's one of the take-home messages from our project to perhaps other endangered species projects around the world.
With rising numbers, the Kemp's Ridley was heralded as an endangered species success story in the making. But it would all change in 2010, when the worst oil spill in United States history would again test the fate of the species.
Prior to the oil spill, we were seeing a 12 to 15% increase per annum in the number of nesting turtles on the beach. Prior to the oil spill, we were highly encouraged that we'd be able to soon downlist the turtle and then ultimately delist the turtle, but that kind of took a nosedive. It's going to take years to sort out all the ramifications of what happened to the Gulf of Mexico environment and microhabitats within the Gulf, prey species, chemical residuals in terms of reproductive viability or fecundity. Those are all questions that are still out there as we look at turtles because they don't do anything fast.
Every species has its place in the ecosystem, and they're all important. And so if you take one out, it affects everything else.
Scientists are not sure which of the species in our complex ecosystems, if removed, will cause the ultimate collapse. So it's essential that the Kemp's Ridley link in the marine ecosystem not be broken. Back in Cape Cod, Strong winds are forecast for 5 consecutive days. There's a high chance for cold, stunned sea turtles to wash ashore.
It's looking like maybe one of the biggest days ever. We're knee-deep in turtles.
Generally, we just ask that you leave them there and let us come and collect them. We are swamped with turtles. I probably have received somewhere between 75 and 80 calls a day.
Campground, small, Ridley, okay? And that's a big Cooks Brook, Ridley, okay?
There's another turtle.
All right, either call Mark or James. Yep, they're up there.
Do you have a staff?
We have no staff, no. They're everywhere. Everybody is at a different time.
Okay, I'll bring them back.
They're coming in, and they're coming in like barrels.
With so many sea turtles washing up, volunteers are being permitted to bring sea turtles directly to the sanctuary.
These are from Thumpertown.
This one's Nauset.
These are from Fisher Beach.
It's Kemp's Ridley. We don't see that size in this species very often.
One green and one Kemp's from Cornhill Beach in Truro.
This is Silver Spring.
Yeah, close the door. It's getting cold.
Bloody. People driving with lots in their cars from one beach that they stopped at.
The stack would just keep getting higher and higher. Exciting on the one hand, but then at the same time, it's like, wow, we've got to really step up the speed and make sure we process all these turtles in time so that they can get out of here.
Massachusetts Audubon staff and volunteers find out the New England Aquarium Animal Care Center can no longer receive turtles.
When the New England Aquarium reaches 80 turtles, that's their emergency capacity. We called it an emergency pretty early on in the season.
The aquarium is basically at capacity.
Yeah, they're just so busy. There's no one to even answer the phone. And now we're 2 or 3 days behind.
With a second straight day of over 100 sea turtle strandings, a 278-pound female loggerhead strands. It's the largest loggerhead ever recovered in Massachusetts history.
We're going to need to do something with that loggerhead. We're going to have to get a crew together and either rock it or move it, because it's not looking particularly good.
It's been pretty calm. You know, we're still getting, you know, not much from the eye now. Because this loggerhead's not doing so hot, we're going to try and get it up there tonight.
1, 2, 3. Yep. Oh, great. All right.
Even though the New England Aquarium is at capacity, it's critical to keep this adult female loggerhead alive to maintain threatened loggerhead populations. Found unresponsive at the New England Aquarium's Animal Care Center, emergency procedures were conducted to try and revive her. Unfortunately, she did not survive.
We're trying to, save as many as we can. And each tide now, it's getting colder, the water's getting colder, and so the percentage that survive goes down, down, down. And we're quickly approaching the biggest year, which was 413. But if we're getting 30 or 60 or 100 turtles a tide, 3 tides from now, is that 300 more turtles? I don't know where we're going to put them.
With the most sea turtles they've ever had at the New England Aquarium, staff, volunteers, and interns from all over New England work around the clock.
We are used to receiving 50 or 80 or maybe 100 turtles per year in some years. This year is exceptional in the number of turtles that we received and the speed at which we received them. So we've really transitioned this year to treating just more life-threatening problems, trying to get each turtle to survive till the next day.
We have a lot of really sick turtles here. We've got to hunker down and we've got to treat these turtles to the best of our abilities. When you think about these hours that some of us were getting here at 3:30 in the morning to open up for a 4 a.m. team meeting, and then still being here at 6 o'clock that same night, and then getting up and doing a similar thing the next day, 6 weeks of that got pretty tough.
If we can help, then we want to be able to help. So there are folks here today from the National Aquarium in Baltimore, from the Mystic Sea Life Center, and from the Virginia Aquarium. We really like to have each other's back like that because all of us work on limited resources, and we know that when a big event happens, folks that are here are going to get tired quickly if they don't have some help. So it really is a critical time.
In the clinic, veterinarian Dr. Kathy Tuxbury immediately recognizes the turtle 562 is drowning. Senior biologist Linda Laurie can barely detect a heart rate. Dr. Tuxbury recommends giving emergency drugs to stimulate the turtle's heart. It's still uncertain if the sea turtle will survive or not.
Unfortunately, they come to us like this and we just have to figure out how to fix them. We use our clinical knowledge and our training, our veterinarians, to try to rehab them and bring them back to health.
There's a lot of necrotic tissue in this pocket. Wow, does that smell bad?
Turtle 564's injuries are extensive, located almost everywhere on its entire body. Even Turtle 564's face is scarred. The rehabilitation team will use all of their resources and work day after day for weeks to save as many sea turtles as they can. But it's impossible to save every turtle. Kemp's Ridley sea turtle 562's heart never recovers, and it dies the following day. Human actions continue to impact the survival of sea turtles.
Entanglement, marine debris ingestion, boat propeller injuries.
Over 52% of the sea turtles in the world have ingested plastic.
Each one's all that more important to protect now as we have this uncertainty with a long-term trend for the population.
But there are increasing complications that may prevent them from making an unprecedented comeback.
Warming of the oceans is a concern to many species. There may be changes to the food web of the species, inundation of beaches due to rising sea levels. Sea turtles have temperature-dependent sex determination, with warmer temperatures producing primarily females.
If that got to be a point where we were only producing females over the long term, we could produce males just by incubating the eggs at lower temperatures. Where the increase in temperature may have an impact in the future with Kemp's Ridley, the ambient temperature, when it gets up around 100 Fahrenheit, is lethal to most reptiles. A couple years back, one of our crew members was watching a female along with a bunch of other females come ashore and realized that that turtle hadn't moved in a long time, went over and it was dead. Sometimes they'd overheat and go back to the water without laying eggs because they got too hot. If the ambient temperature becomes too hot for a large number of turtles and it takes them a longer time to find and dig their nest cavities, that could be a problem. Or maybe the turtles will adapt their behavior. That remains to be seen. Over 99% of the world population nests along Mexican beaches. I think everyone realizes that there have been some difficulties in parts of Mexico over the past couple of years. That's added one more piece to the difficulty in doing our job. In a 3-month period, we could go back to where we were 40, 50 years ago, and if somebody were to get in there and start exploiting that population, we could lose everything. We're so close to making this a long-term success, we can't stop. It would be like fumbling the ball on the 1-yard line in the last minute of the fourth quarter.
We're well over 500 by now, so this is uncharted territory.
Ordinarily, we get the turtles out of here within 24 hours, but because there's such a lag now with all of the turtles, the aquarium thought it would be good to get somebody down here to begin the triage process.
Veterinarian Dr. Leslie Neville from the New England Aquarium sets up a satellite clinic to provide emergency relief.
We started some of the health assessments down here, getting their heart rate and respiratory rate. We're trying to send up the turtles that have the best chance of survival. The turtles that have been here for a day or so, and we're gonna give them subcutaneous fluids. And this fluids has electrolytes and sugar, just to kind of keep up with their hydration. This one looks pretty good. We're also trying to pick the ones that have been there a little bit the longest. Sometimes I did kind of, beg if we could, bring in a couple more. Every hour or two, we were reassessing the situation because they kept coming in such a large number.
How many did you find today?
18.
I have 11.
Is that a turtle? Bring it in here. We're up over 700 turtles.
With hundreds of sea turtles backlogged and waiting for transport to the New England Aquarium, for the first time, cold-stunned sea turtles are swum at Massachusetts Audubon's Wellfleet Bay Wildlife Sanctuary.
The big thing about swimming is it gets their heart rate, blood flow, everything moving along and helps to stimulate them. I think that probably helped save more of them if they had just been sitting there in the box.
A crisis situation. Dedicated volunteers continued to patrol beaches, drive turtles to the aquarium, and also hydrate and swim the sea turtles. Bill Allen has rescued over 100 sea turtles in 12 years, the most by any volunteer. This season alone, he will have found another 100 stranded sea turtles, many of them Kemp's Ridleys.
You kind of coax them along, give them a back rub, and that kind of stimulates them. These turtles have a zest for life that's absolutely incredible, because they're Gulf of Mexico turtles. They like 80-degree water, and it's 45-degree water or 30-degree temperatures, and yet they still can survive. We're the difference between life and death in these turtles. And when you pick a turtle up and you see that it's alive and its flippers start flapping and it raises its head, almost to say, thank you. Great feeling.
If this number stays this high for another few days, we're going to really run into trouble as far as, what we can do for the animals.
With so many Kemps, I thought the future of Kemp Ridleys could be right here in front of our eyes.
We're finally coming to grips with the total number of turtles that we're dealing with, and that it doesn't look like it's going to end.
When this season hit, there were so many turtles that came in such a short period of time that all of our plans sort of went out the window. So as a NOAA Fisheries representative, I can look to see what facilities might have space and try to work with other states and other groups. And so we can try to get those turtles out to make room at the New England Aquarium. That's when we start to enlist folks like the Coast Guard.
To free up the massive backlog, 243 sea turtles will be transported from the New England Aquarium to 10 different institutions for rehabilitation in Florida and North Carolina.
By the end of today, we will have transported out more turtles than we had in our largest year ever for that whole year.
If you were going to ship out 243 turtles in one day, we had to step back and look at the big picture. We had to look at longevity, at safety. It took a lot of teamwork and staying focused. These are turtles that may not be alive on the other end. So we transport out the stable animals. The sickest ones, we don't transport those. You just can't ethically do that.
We called on our partners at the International Fund for Animal Welfare. They have an enormous live animal transport trailer that is climate controlled.
The staff at the New England Aquarium could not handle this alone. We're doing it as a team. We're getting a lot of help. IFA's here today. We have Mystic here. Kate Sampson has been really taking care of all the logistics. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was emotional, stressful, exhausting, but also rewarding. And that's what kept us going every day.
Last turtle. Good? Yeah.
193 of the 243 sea turtles are loaded for the beginning of a 1,000-mile journey to Orlando, Florida.
Good job, team. Thank you very much. Way ahead of schedule. This is excellent. 193 endangered species.
As the sun rises, the sea turtles have 60 miles to go to the United States Coast Guard Air Station, Cape Cod, to catch their flight. They will be riding on the Coast Guard's newest search and rescue plane. Connie Marigo sorts out the logistics with 2 of the air crew who will fly the sea turtles to Orlando, Florida.
Okay, so we're ready.
Okay, all right. Well, there are 100 boxes to move, so there is a little bit of work, but we've got a great team here.
And then once we get everything situated on the pallets, we're going to strap them down and forklift them all.
We are a life-saving service, so whether it be humans or animals, we're here to help out.
It's just a huge effort, and we already have several hundred turtles back at the aquarium, even though we're shipping out. By the end of today, we'll have shipped out a total of 243 turtles.
These have all graduated.
These have all graduated. These are the best candidates for flights. Given an event this size, we need all our staff back there treating turtle after turtle after turtle. You're saving us in every way here.
You think they mind being in banana boxes?
I don't think so. I think they're just going to be so happy to come out on the other side in nice, warm, sunny Florida.
Yep.
It could very well be the largest airlift of endangered species, probably anywhere in the United States, quite possibly the world.
We need a lot of different resources to be able to make it happen, and we want it to happen quickly. So not only do we need people to donate their time and sometimes their resources, but we need it to happen immediately. That's where the general aviation community came in. Those are corporate or private pilots. We were lucky enough to be hooked up with a particular individual named Leslie Weinstein. He asked me what my needs were, and he's the one who put out the call to the general aviation community.
So we saved a turtle from right here in Boise, Idaho again.
These people donated their time, their fuel, the use of their planes. They altered their schedules. They flew in from other areas to pick up turtles and then fly them.
During the 2014 annual Cape Cod stranding season, sea turtles were either flown or driven from the New England Aquarium to 21 other facilities in Massachusetts and 10 other states. There were 2 Coast Guard flights, 12 general aviation flights, 1 NOAA flight, and 5 car transports. The 21 aquariums, rehabilitation centers, and sea turtle hospitals across the eastern seaboard and Gulf of Mexico received a total of 557 sea turtles that were stranded on Cape Cod.
Those flights were so valuable. They are what allowed us to get through this season and provide care for all the turtles. There's no way that the folks in Massachusetts or even within our region could have cared for that many turtles. All the organizations came together, and it was just an amazing collaborative effort.
During the 2014 season, a total of 1,242 sea turtles stranded on the bayside beaches of Cape Cod, triple the previous record of 412 stranded sea turtles in 2012.
Why did it happen? So we have more juvenile turtles in the system. The Gulf of Maine, the body of water that Cape Cod Bay is part of, is getting much warmer.
In fact, the Gulf of Maine is warming at a rate faster than any other body of water in the world. Another theory is that changing currents in the Gulf of Mexico are pushing more sea turtles into the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf Stream current north to New England. Other theories are also being investigated. 37 of the most critical sea turtles remain at the New England Aquarium. After 4 to 5 months of rehabilitation, the sea turtles look healthier and stronger. However, they're still recovering, and it may take 1 to 4 more months before they can be released back into the wild.
The determination of when they're releasable is based on reviewing their blood work, their x-rays, doing an exam of the turtle, how long they've been off their medications. The general rules are that any known infections have resolved, that they're eating well on their own, that they're swimming fine on their own.
They have to be able to forage for themselves. They have to be strong enough to escape predators.
You look at them and you say, this looks like a robust turtle that will survive in the wild.
Many of the sea turtles found alive this season will survive, and Turtle 564 may be the ultimate survivor.
This particular turtle came in from Cold Storage Beach in Truro, Massachusetts. He's been with us for 5 months now, and his name is Bald Eagle.
This guy has multiple wounds that we're dealing with. The left front flipper abscess debridement site. I know, you feel the sutures. I know, it hurts. Last one. Excellent.
This turtle, when he first came in, had more affected tissue than normal tissue. So he had wounds and scars and lesions and scabs and necrotic tissue pretty much everywhere on his shell, on his body, on his flippers, on his neck. You pretty much were afraid to touch this turtle for the fear that it's going to, fall apart when you touch it.
Turtle 564, Bald Eagle, was released from Assateague Island State Park in Maryland on July 16, 2015. These rehabilitated sea turtles are released anywhere south of Cape Cod Bay. As juveniles, they feed along the east coast of the United States until they reach adulthood. They will then return to the Gulf of Mexico to live the rest of their lives.
Through satellite telemetry data, when these turtles are released, we are seeing very good survivorship and a return to what would be considered normal behavior. Before this event, we had released almost 1,000 Ridleys, and now this year we're going to be adding maybe 600 or so to that number. So putting back 1,500 turtles over the time just here, and then start looking at some of the other rehab centers. I think that what we're doing here could have a very significant effect on the population, especially of the Kemp's Ridley.
The mission for everyone in New England who are rescuing and rehabilitating the juvenile cold-stunned sea turtles is to help them to survive so they may live to become adults and contribute to the Kemp's Ridley population. This goal has been achieved.
We had a really exciting observation in 2009 of a Kemp's Ridley turtle that had been found stranded, cold-stunned, in Massachusetts in 1999 and was held in rehabilitation at various facilities through 2003 through a group effort, then released and made her way here to nest on Padre Island National Seashore, and then one nest down on South Padre Island in 2009. She could have come up at other times too and not been observed, so we know we had at least 2 and maybe more.
And if that female continues to live, and she could live, what, 50 years, 60 years? And if she lays her eggs, that's a lot of babies going back into this system that needed more and more turtles.
Given that majority of these turtles that come here are likely going back to nest in Mexico, and we don't have very good coverage there in terms of looking for these little devices that we insert, the pit tag, we could have had over 100 turtles that have come back by now after 20 years that may have nested.
This record really helps illustrate the ties that so many of us have together in this work of protecting the turtles that are found cold stunned, protecting the turtles when they're nesting on the beach, and protecting the eggs, all together, working together to help recover the species. It's very difficult to estimate how many people have helped with the conservation recovery efforts for this species. Certainly it's in the thousands, it's probably up in the tens of thousands.
When you see this kind of community involvement and this kind of passion for a project like this, it's hard not to also feel a lot of hope about the way that the world is going to come together and work these things out in order for us to survive and in order for us to ensure that as many species as possible survive.
We can all have a role in saving the Kemp's Ridley and all life in the ocean. "24 of the sickest Kemp's Ridley sea turtles from the 2014 season in Cape Cod have been successfully rehabilitated and are heading home to be released back into the wild. To minimize stress on the sea turtles, 9 members from the New England Aquarium's Animal Care Center drive over 1,000 miles for 20 consecutive hours from Quincy, Massachusetts to the warm ocean waters off Jekyll Island, Georgia.
A fair number of turtles came with us, 24 to be exact. So we partnered with the Georgia Sea Turtle Center, came down here, and we're doing a big joint release.
We've been involved with the New England Aquarium for many years. We have a collaborative program. We'll take some turtles every winter to help lighten the load.
The rehab process has been long. It's been months. To get to this point today has been an exhausting amount of work. All righty, we good to go? Let's do this. People often ask me, well, won't you miss them? Don't you worry about them? And of course I do, especially given what's in our oceans. But I also feel really good. It's highly rewarding to be able to put some of these turtles back, knowing that individually we made a difference to that animal, would clearly have died.
We had hundreds and hundreds of people that came to see the release with their kids and families, and just seeing how excited they are, this is, I think, the best part of our jobs. Hopefully some of those children are going to be growing up and becoming marine biologists and saving endangered species. This also makes it very worthwhile.
Get up further out than that.